Good. All right, so this topic is a topic I care deeply about. The topic is the business running you, or are you running the business? When I started my coaching business about 15 years ago, I had quite the optimistic frame of mind. I had been working for a remodeler in Michigan. I was hired to take care of their marketing, their advertising, and was running that. That parlayed into managing their 4 kitchen designers, bath and kitchen designers, started managing their showroom, got involved in the financial side of the business, and after several years of doing that, I came home one day and I turned to my beloved wife, Sarah, and I said, honey, we got 1 kid, another one on the way. It was like the second, she was quite pregnant. Crappy economy here in Michigan, 2008. No money in the bank to fall back on, but I want to quit my job and start my own business. To which she replied, "You're right." Huh, yeah. It was kind of like, oh, really? Oh, really? Yes. But I had this entrepreneurial drive in me that I kind of wanted to unleash. I was 25 years old. I knew everything about everything, right? And as someone who's kind of a naturally glass half full guy, I thought to myself, this is going to be a piece of cake. Okay. Look at this guy. Look at this 25-year-old This 25, well, you guys don't have to laugh so much. Don't I still look that? This 25-year-old whippersnapper. He's bright-eyed. He's got hair, you know. Nice professional button-down. I looked up the definition of a whippersnapper. A young and inexperienced person considered to be presumptuous or overconfident. Guilty as charged. But perhaps a lot of you might have some similar stories when it comes to starting your business. I can do this better. I can make more money. He's a knucklehead, she's a knucklehead. I can do this so much better. I can take more time off. I can build something for myself and my family. All wonderful ambitions. And perhaps like you, I remember kind of the pit in the stomach feelings. The, oh crap, it's the 25th of the month and the mortgage is coming up. What am I going to do? Remember the concern, the overwhelm. There's a decent number of scars that have kind of been built up and that kind of make me who I am today. And perhaps some of you have felt similar. I like this little chart. It's kind of defining success. And on the left-hand side, what people think it looks like. Oh, you just start, and it's just this nice, steady climb up. It's not quite like that. Does anybody more relate to the one a little bit on the right? Right? A little bit more of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I didn't think I was going to dance during this, but look at me go. That wasn't part of the gig. Right? But it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's really what it looks like. What I also like about this chart is that it's also kind of on the rise. My business is called Remodelers on the Rise, right? But it's on the rise. It's still going forward. Sometimes we have to look back and realize, even though I kind of got kicked in the teeth today, even though things are not going as smoothly as I want, we have to acknowledge the progress that we've made as well in our journey. Okay. So year by year, I've been figuring out this business thing for myself. I've been running my entrepreneurial race. And what's been really fun is, in addition to that experience, I've had a front row seat at this point to hundreds of remodelers, to really understand seeing their successes, seeing their struggles, witnessing their frustrations, helping them with their breakthroughs. And as a business coach, I have the privilege of really getting to know people and really seeing behind the scenes of what is working, what is not working, how do we get breakthroughs to happen. So now I worry a little bit as I was preparing this because I was a little vulnerable, transparent with you, got some scars, whippersnapper, all of that. And I'm kind of worried that maybe I'm talking to people who can't relate to anything I said. Is the business running you, or are you running the business? So in the last 2 years, let's say, have you had a time where the business, or for some of you, your job, or maybe just life in general, has been kind of running you, just at some point in the last 2 years? Maybe a show of hands? Oh, good. Oh, good. Did anybody not raise their hand? All right. That is a good sign, because I was a little worried that maybe none of this was going to be applicable. I had a hunch, but that is good news. All right. Not only that, but I was also worried. Somebody was like, you know, you got a keynote on Friday morning, and everybody's going to be out partying all night. Is anybody going to show up? I hadn't even thought about it. And then I thought to myself, y'all, as a Michigander, can I say y'all? Texans? Okay. One time, I get one pass. But here's what's funny, Ben. I'm up here, and I'm in charge for the next 48 minutes and 6 seconds. So I might say y'all a few times. Okay. Yes. But y'all, what I was going to say is, you guys are contractors or modelers. Like, you just wake up naturally at 6 a.m., right, and just start staring and start thinking. So I figured by 8:30, surely people will get here. All right. So I'm not going to be Mr. Bossy Pants, but I do see some notes out. This gentleman right here, picture perfect, gold star. In fact, this man just got a hat because he showed, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. He's got his notes out. He's ready to go. I can't catch a hat, but he got a hat. Because that was a good throw, man. Yeah. But will you do me a favor? Take some notes. You guys have been inundated with ideas, but what I do know from speaking and from, some people are grabbing notes. It makes me very happy. From speaking is if we don't capture it kind of as we're thinking about it, it's going to kind of evaporate. We are hopefully recording this. We can go back and see it, but take some notes. We're going to talk about 3 things. When it comes to the business running you versus you running the business, how and why this happens, number 1. Number 2, how to overcome it. And number 3, 11 minutes of Q&A. Wow, Kyle, you're very precise. I'm already a little worried because the clock is a little further along than I was wanting it to be at this point. But we're going to do 11 minutes of Q&A. That'll be fun, yeah? Okay. So how and why this happens, how and why the business runs you versus the other way around. First, I want to just mention and remind you the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is 80% of outcomes comes from 20% of causes. 80% of outcomes come from 20% of causes. So in this case, 80% of the overwhelm that we feel is caused by, in our business, 4 things that I've kind of identified that we're going to cover, kind of the 20%. So this isn't all of it. It's not an exhaustive list of why this happens to us, but we're going to cover the 4 things. So the first problem is related to money, numbers, financials. So what, Kyle? It's all about the money? Is that what you're saying? No, I'm not necessarily saying that. But what I am saying is that when the money, when the financials, when you are not understanding your numbers, when those are not in order, when we look at the bank account and sit there and think, where did it all go? I have money coming in. There's money going out. There should be more here. When we aren't sure of what our markup or margin should be for our pricing, when we aren't sure what markup and margin is and the difference between the two. When you can't tell me on a project, hey, this nice, beautiful kitchen project, I'm expecting $20,000 of gross profit, but my actual is $15,000, meaning I have $5,000 of what? Oh, people, beautiful. Slippage, right? When you can't tell me that, when you don't understand what slippage and grippage is, when you aren't clear on the difference between gross and net, that is a big part that I've seen of why a business starts to run you, is when we don't understand our numbers. When the financial side is confusing, when we don't know our numbers, it's a big problem. Show of hands, who agrees with that? Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. All right. So that's number 1, how and why a business runs you. What we're kind of doing here, just to give you the lay of the land, give you a little where we're headed, we're kind of identifying 4 problems. We have that beautiful orange arrow. And then what do you think is going to be in that box below there? A hat? I like comedy, Matt. It's beautiful. I was saving them for Q&A, but I mean, how can I not give a hat to a sarcastic comment like that? I love it. But it's correct. Solutions is going to be in there. So number 2, clear vision. Some of you, my walk-up song was by a wonderful artist named Ben Rector. Anybody know Ben Rector? Yes. Oh, who's a Ben Rector fan? You get a hat. Give that man a hat. Yeah, well, sometimes I get excited and I get ahead of myself and it's screwing up. But there's also a song that he has called Sailboat, and it came to my mind. Some of you are like a sailboat. You don't know where you're going. The waves are just kind of hitting you here, hitting you there. You wake up during the day, during the week, during the month, during the year, and you're kind of like, I don't really know where I'm going. I'm just going to kind of go to and fro based on what's happening. Mike Claude, is Mike here? Mike's not here. Mike did the opening keynote. Did he talk about vision quite a bit? Did that resonate with you? Do you understand how it is directly related to feeling overwhelmed in your business, not really knowing where you're going versus really having a plan? Do you think I could beat him in arm wrestling? I think I could take him. I'm pretty fired up right now. 0% chance. I actually know him pretty well, and we went into a room. He looked into my soul for 20 minutes and just really helped me, actually. It's cool. It was good. But he talks a lot about vision. What is your clear vision for your business and your life? You want to build an $8 million business. Cool. Why? Why do you want to do that? You want all trade partners and no field employees. Why? You're going to, what are you going to be doing in your business 3 years from now? Why is that? How is that different than what you're doing right now? What is your vision for your team and employees? How much money are you looking to make? How much time off are you aiming for? Clear vision. When the business is running you, we take on anything and everything that comes at us. Any and all work. We're not strategic about how we're using our time. We're not implementing change. We don't know where we're going and what we're aiming for, and that's a problem. And that leads to the business kind of running us. How and why the business runs you. Third thing, everyone, repeat after me. I'm doing too much. 1, 2, 3. I'm. Oh, beautiful. I think we can do a little bit more, though. 1, 2, 3. It's good to say out loud. It's good to acknowledge it. It's good to acknowledge it. You are taking on too much. Oh, coach the kids' sports team? Of course. Yeah, I can do that. That's good. That's a good thing. Serve on that little committee at church or in that little organization you belong to? Sign me up. We specialize in kitchens, but this is a deck project, but you were referred by somebody I know. Of course, yeah, we can help you with that. Client says, I know we didn't talk about this, but since you're here, could you... The humor means, I've heard that a time or two, Kyle, right? You're not saying no. You're not saying no. Do you want to stay up? Here's one from this is over Christmas break. You know, the kids didn't have school. My wife and I are watching TV, and hey, honey, do you want to stay up and not watch the 5th episode of Suits, even though you're going to be exhausted in the morning and be ridiculous at work tomorrow? And to which I reply, I said yes. Donna, Harvey, anybody? Yeah, right. So it could be you're hearing me blend like business and personal things together here. And where I'm going with that is you're hearing good things that are good to say yes to. But we have to be good at saying no to more things. It's a problem. We're going to talk about how to fix it. And number 4, when I think about kind of the 20% of things, the 4 things that results in 80% of our overwhelm and the business running us, is related to the team. I married my wife because she's the love of my life. Bailey, you recording this? This would be a good one. I married my wife, who's gorgeous. Hi, honey. She's going to find that really obnoxious. She calls me being on the stage obnoxious, Kyle. It's true. I married my wife because she's the love of my life, high school sweetheart. But I also married her because her father has season tickets to Michigan football. Okay? It was part of the dowry. Grandkids started coming, and I was like, this is a bunch of crap. We have 2 seats. I married into this family so I could go watch the Wolverines. So now we have 3 tickets. It's part of the dowry. The Michigan Wolverines, national champs. We're not going to talk about that little cheating thing. Shut up! Hey, you, tough guys in the back, take those 2 people out. In fact, take their hats and give them to me instead of me giving them a hat. I said I don't want to talk about it. All right. But Michigan Wolverines had a head coach named Bo Schembechler. I will give a hat to whoever can stand up in the next 5 seconds and spell Schembechler without looking. It's very hard. Nobody can do it. And Bo had his big famous team speech was, the team, the team, the team. We're going to play as a team. We're going to win as a team. You see your teammates struggling, you go and help them. The team, the team, the team. And what I see is who realizes that the quality of your team is incredibly important to the success of your business? Okay, what I have realized over the years is I underestimated that way too much. It is way more important than you even realize. You think fixing a process or creating a checklist is going to solve the problem. It's going to help. The quality of the team is so vitally important to you running the business versus it feeling like otherwise. You guys say stuff like, I tried to hire someone and it didn't work. Nobody can do it up to my standards. There are no good people out there. I hire someone, train someone. You don't understand the pain, Kyle, that it causes when I hire them, train them, put years into them, and then they just leave. They move on. I don't know who I need to hire next. The reality check is, if you want to build a business that is up to your vision, most likely you are going to really need to invest in the team, in leadership development. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to the solution part. All right, so those are the four main reasons, four main problems of why the business is running you versus you running the business. If you were to raise one of your hands and just put a number up between 1, 2, 3, 4, if you were to pick one of those that might be your biggest challenge, can you put your number up and just let me kind of see it? Seen a lot of 2s, seen a lot of 3s. Seen somebody put a 3 up like this, interesting. Right? A lot of 2s. A lot of 4s, a lot of 2s. Somebody put a 5 up, okay. Some 1s, I'm seeing some 1s, okay. So really a pretty decent distribution actually. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of the how and why it happens. Let's talk about the second part of how to overcome it, a solution part. So on the money side, as I was thinking about this, one of my longtime clients, his name's Stu, came to mind. And I remember sitting down with Stu. He had gotten his business to the point where he was out of his home. He had a little office connected to another little business and hired me for coaching. Saw me speak at a Home Builder Association event. And I remember sitting down, first meeting, all right, let's pull up your P&L. I mean, here's where we were. What's a P&L? Oh, profit and loss statement, got it, okay. And we start walking through the P&L. We got total sales minus cost of goods sold. I'm looking at his cost of goods sold. I'm going, okay, I see materials, I see trade partners. I call them trade partners because they're not sub anything. You understand? Okay, write that one down. No more subcontractors, trade partners. I see that. I said, you have carpenters out in the field. Where's your in-house labor? I don't know. We keep looking through the P&L. Where do you think his in-house labor was? Yep, down in overhead expenses, lumped together with his office manager that he has, right? Oh, yeah, our CPA, I remember talking about that. We just haven't fixed that yet. Ah, yes. I see dumpsters down in overhead. I see some different things. So we're walking through that. We're looking at gross profit. What's gross profit? Talking about overhead expenses. We got down to net profit. It said net profit $60,000. I said, Stu, how do you feel about that? Does that feel like you've made a $60,000 net profit this year? How does that compare to your bank account? He goes, dude, my bank account is just like money in, money out. It's sitting down there real close to zero. This doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, here's the deal. What do you do as far as your own pay? And he said, I do a $6,000 draw a month. I said, okay, 6,000 times 12, that's 72,000, right? So 60,000 minus 72, you're showing a little bit of a loss here. He was very confused. The owner draw, if you take a draw, where does it come out of? It comes out of net profit, right? We just need to know this. We need to study this. We need to understand this. If I pay myself a regular paycheck, that's probably up in overhead expenses. Owner draw is coming out of net profit. So we're going through that, and then we start talking about his markup. Stu, how do you handle your markup? Well, my team, sometimes when I have a lead and a helper, we charge $100 an hour for kind of that combo. I don't feel great about, adding a lot of markup to my subs. I try to do that at 20%. Materials, I sometimes do it at 20, sometimes do it at 30. Does that sound familiar or some in your history? Have you been there before? Just a smattering of things. So he had no idea what his expected gross profit on a project was because everything was kind of blended. Everything was kind of murky. Okay. Started talking about job costing. Do you know your expected gross profit versus your actual? He really started on this far end of the spectrum, right? Very beginning view of the spectrum. Everybody see that when it comes to the money? All of a sudden, as the time goes on, as time went on, pretty immediately, all right, 1.40 markup across the board. He decided to do it. I got to do it. I need money. I can see now that I'm not charging enough. There's not enough money there. He started doing that. He started seeing what his expected, he didn't really have his job costing dialed in yet, but he started seeing what his expected gross profit was. Started studying that. He started asking more questions. Hey, Kyle, can you go through that one again? How does that one work again? Why isn't this working? I see him working with a CPA. Now all of a sudden our in-house labor is up there. Oh man, our cost of goods sold is more organized. Do you see how he's kind of moving from this end to starting to know his numbers and his financials a little bit better? Show of hands, who's not at the beginning but maybe is kind of in that middle ground? Come on, be brave, right? All right, a lot of hands, right? And as he started going a little bit further, then he started realizing, wait, if I was expecting $20,000, why is this saying I only have $12,000? It must be the field's fault, right? 100% the field's fault? Maybe. What about estimating? Did he put 20 hours of demo in there and it took him 30? Is he tracking how many hours of demo? All of a sudden now he has his team starting to track numbers. Even though they whine about it, even though they complain about it, he teaches them, this is important, I need to see this. Through that, he's becoming a better estimator. He's not making those mistakes. Through this, he's realizing, I've got to get my scheduling in order. Through this, he's realizing, I have got to start managing my field team better to reduce slippage. Do you see how he's moving from like here up to here? These questions, this approach. Do you see how some of you need to kind of continue to dig into your numbers and go like this? All right. Knowing his numbers, all of a sudden he started understanding his employee labor burden. That knowing his numbers allowed him to make a key hire in the office, key hire in the field. Overwhelm turned into excitement. Years later, he's talking to me about WIP adjustments. He's blown past a simple IRA, which allows him $13,500 plus another $13,500 for his wife, and now he's moved on to a 401k so he can put more in. He's also doing a 401k via Roth because he's still a young man. He's going to 40-year-old Stu is going to thank 60-year-old Stu is going to thank 40-year-old Stu that he's putting in a Roth. He has gone all the way over here where I can just sit there and say, hey, Stu, teach me about your P&L. I would love to. Hey, show me your job cost report, da-da-da. Why is it saying this? He has an answer. He has gone from over here to over there. And his business, it's the biggest impact that he's had in his business. Do you see why I'm trying to really emphasize the money, knowing your numbers? Do you see why every single coach or consultant that you've ever heard speak from a stage or speak in a breakout are always talking about know your numbers? It's incredibly important. The positive ripple effect happens. So if I were to pause there and say, for you, when it comes to the money and financial side of things, what is your next right thing that you need to do on that particular topic? I don't care if you're over on this end of the spectrum, if you're here, there is always more to be done in understanding and digging in and being consistent with your numbers. So take 30 seconds, think about that, and write it down. What is your next right thing related to the numbers and money side? Okay. The second thing we talked about, what's a problem, and some of the reason that the business is running us versus the other way around, is related to the clear vision. People tell me quite often, I want to grow. And 100% of the time, my next response is, why? Why do you want to grow? Why do you want to grow? What are you trying to build and why? When this is murky, that's a problem. When this is super clear, welcome to the driver's seat of your business. You are no longer a spectator. You are no longer in the sailboat. You are now driving the ship. You are now I'm getting my metaphors all mixed up. Are we talking about a driving car/sailboat right now? I think that's what we're doing. You're in the driver's seat of your business. What are you trying to build and why? Now, most of you see a little handout that's got my mug on it. On the back of that, there's a little QR code, and up here, there's a little QR code. As I was preparing this, I thought, all right, what I want you guys to do is really go in and take this business vision planning worksheet. If you do that QR code, or you can do it afterwards, and just scan that, the top link you're going to see, it says, click here to access the lesson on business planning. It's me teaching it. It's us going through. You download the Word document. I need you guys to go through step by step. This will be very practical in how you can create your vision. You're going to start asking and answering questions of how well is the business supporting the life you're desiring to lead. You're going to start thinking long term. When it comes to your work that you're doing, what's different about the work that you personally are going to be doing in the future versus now? When it comes to the team, approximately how many employees will you have? What new positions do you need to look at? What do you want your company culture to look like? This will just help you dig into this. Is anybody, this is the case even still a little bit for me. You heard me talking about numbers. I can talk numbers, and I can talk numbers with the best of them. When it comes to vision, I'm a very practical, tangible guy. Vision is a little bit more ambiguous, isn't it? Sometimes it's kind of hard to pin it down. I have found that I'm pretty good if I'm about 2 years out. I can kind of see where I want to go in 2 years. I can kind of see and work back from there. But it's something that I'm really working to improve because I know how important it is, and I'm seeing more and more how it's important for my clients. So I encourage you guys to dig into that. What are you trying to build and why? We need to do the hard work of figuring that out. Mike gave a bunch of great things in the first session. List out everybody that you're responsible to. List out everything that you do. He gave very practical advice of step-by-step how to start to craft that vision. This is also a resource that will be very helpful. And the thing to remember is creating a clear vision, doing that strategic work will be very, very valuable to your business and to you yourself. Number 3. Problem of you're not saying no. I was part of a organization called Courageous Kids of Michigan. This was years back. There was a lady named Terry Hocking, who was a friend of mine, and she worked in hospitals, and she started a nonprofit where you've got Make-A-Wish, which is a wonderful organization, but she wanted to create something that would give kids things to look, kids and the terminally ill kid and the family, something to look forward to consistently. So all of a sudden, she's getting tickets to Detroit Pistons games. She's getting movie theaters to donate a theater, going to this fair, going to the apple orchard, going to a Tigers game. And it's just a wonderful organization that I was the president of the board on. And I remember years ago, I'm trying to build my business, busy at church, busy with marriage. I think we had 3 kids at the time, and I remember it's like sitting down and going, Sarah, something has got to give. Like, I cannot keep doing everything. And when this idea of stepping back from this organization came up, I thought to myself, that's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. What should I be doing with my time? What could be better than helping these kids and the family? And it's such a rewarding thing that they're doing. And then what I realized is I have to learn how to say no to things. There are different seasons that we can say yes to things. There are different seasons where we have to be much more aggressive with saying no to things. I'm a big proponent of DISC personality profiles. When you look at my DISC, what you'll see is I'm a high I. Obviously, you can see that. Wow, Kyle, you're so whimsical and you're so funny. It's because I'm a high I. But one thing that you'll see on there is Kyle struggles to say no. He is a people pleaser. He wants everybody to like him. He does not want to have and lean into those hard conversations. That's very much just how I'm wired. And I have had to work on that over the years. So I use that example of you've got to audit and look at what's going on in your life and figure out what do I need to step back from. More particularly on the business front, one of my favorite conversations I have with clients is when they go, hey, Kyle, guess what? And I say, what? I turned down 3 projects this week. Yes, high five. That's almost more exciting to me sometimes than, hey, I just signed a $100,000 kitchen and whole house thingamajig. Because we're saying no to non-ideal projects. So we need to be thinking about turning down non-ideal work. Maybe it's the type of work. Maybe it's the client, and you know it's not a good fit, and you figure out a way to elegantly step back from it. That simplifies your business. You need to, one of my clients, Josh Nelson, was talking the other day. He's busy right now. He's hired some different people, and he goes, doggone it, I am leaving this office at 5 o'clock p.m. no matter what. I'm putting a line in the sand, and I'm leaving. This is coming off of a season where he lost an employee. He's been working till 6, working till 6:30, working till 7. They have a little one at home. Do you think Mama's really excited about this, him coming home at 7? Nope. And he's realizing I've got to start setting boundaries. I've got to say no to continuing to work later in the evening. I need to lean into, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I've got some bad news. I'm sorry. I know this is coming up next week, but we are not going to be able to start on Monday. We are going to need to start the following Monday. You need to learn how to say no instead of just continually, well, we already told him yes. That's a tough conversation, but it releases some pressure as well. More focus on fewer things. Just think for a second, what do you need to say no to? What is one thing that comes to your mind that you need to maybe start saying no to? I'll just give you a second to think about that while I sip on this lovely water. The other thing on this topic that I talk about a lot is capacity. The more we start paying attention to capacity, how much time we have to do different things, the better. This could be mental capacity. I'm realizing that 40-year-old Kyle does not quite have the same vigor as 30-year-old Kyle. 30-year-old Kyle would be like, I just went back to back coaching calls today, took a 2-minute pee break, and drank some water. 30-year-old Kyle would do that all day. 40-year-old Kyle, not so much, right? So we got to think about our physical capacity, our mental capacity. Most of us are stuffing too much into our day and into our life. I need to hear that. We need to hear that again. Business running you instead of you running the business. Most of us are stuffing too much stuff into our day and our life. The other thing you need to think about is the capacity for your team. Bailey's back there. It was a couple months ago. I was driving up to see Lloyd's Cabinet Shop, longtime client of mine. He just sold his business. Congratulations, Ken Selly, yeah? Pretty big deal. Nobody's happy for Ken Selly? Woo, way to go. Sold his business? What? I was driving up there, and we were brainstorming. I said, Bailey, I got a good idea. For the VIP club, what I want to do is da-da-da-da. And I'm not saying I reached her breaking point or her full capacity, but she may have said, instead of what she normally does, which is, of course, Kyle, you're the boss. I look at the paycheck, and I see your name in the bottom right corner, so whatever you want is good. It's a good employee right there. She said, Kyle, I don't think I can take that on right now. I said, well, that sounds weird coming from her. And it led to a conversation around her capacity. There's too many things on her plate. What happens when you put too many things on one of your employees' plate? Do they perform up to their full potential or not? They do not. When are you paying attention not only to your own capacity? If you're over capacity, you're not having one-on-one meetings with your employees. You're not slowing down enough to ask your employees, hey, how can we help you? You're not slowing down enough to lead your team well, and then let alone evaluate the capacity of each of your team members. You want happy employees? Pay attention to their capacity and make sure you're measuring that. Aim for 80% capacity. Leave some room in there. If you're at 110, 120% capacity, we are not having great attention to details. We're not being proactive. 5P, if you stop by the booth, you'll have a 5P sticker. What does 5P stand for? Say it loud, people who know me. Somebody grab. Well, you didn't need to let it hit him, Todd. Todd said it. He gets a water bottle. Right? 5P, proper preparation, performance. We can't 5P when we're just barely getting ready. We aren't getting ready for that person that's coming in. We're about to ready to present the design. We've made the selections. We've got the full detailed scope of work. And you're finishing it at 3:59 for the 4 o'clock meeting. We have to look at our capacity. And a lot of that is going to be saying no. A lot of this is also, if you write down something, it's called the parking lot. You've heard all kinds of good ideas this week, and you already have. Who here lacks good ideas? We have a lot of ideas. What we lack is prioritizing them and picking one at a time and drilling them into implementation. Parking lot that's a good idea, and I'm not going to do squat with it right now. You should literally have a parking lot and a list of things that you want to work on that you're not doing nothing with, that y'all aren't doing nothing with. How many times can I use that? 6? So I use it 3 times. All right, so that's part of it. Life is better and more peaceful when you put up some limits and boundaries. I know this for a fact. I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it in the life of my clients. So really pay attention to that side of things. You're not saying no enough. Moment of truth right here. We're killing it, folks. Time check. It should be 9:13. What time is it? 9:10. Woo! I'm not saying I'm excited, but I'm pretty excited up here because it's almost Q&A time. Have you gotten a nugget of knowledge so far? Yeah. Shout out your biggest takeaway so far. Well, that's just the last thing we talked about. Think back to you guys are just saying no because it was, huh? Oh, yes. More. Whippersnapper. Beautiful. Somebody make a song out of that. Yeah. I thought that was a moment that you just had there? These are actually hard. Can you catch this now, Todd? Hand that to that eloquent lady. She also, we were talking beforehand, and I was talking to a couple of my clients and buddies, and it was Anthony was eating one of the burritos, and I said, "Oh, the brisket," and she turned around and she said, "I'm from Texas. These are good, but the proper one is brisket with potato is the real key. So if you haven't had a brisket with potato, we need to try that before we all head home. Before y'all head home." Okay. So, all right, so we're in good shape here. So the fourth one is the team. The team. Have you ever thought, and maybe you've seen them around you, maybe you've seen them through a group that you're a part of, maybe they're part of your home builder association or NARI group, potato, and you look at it and you're like, okay, that person is running a $6 million business and is not in the day in and day out trenches. What in the crap? How is that even possible? Has anybody thought about that or seen or kind of had some envy for some people? Here's what I know about that person, and I have several of them in my head. Wow, do they know their numbers? Wow, do they charge well for what they do, which allows them to afford to do things? Wow, do they have a clear vision? Do you think you accidentally fall into a business that you're able to work, let's just say 30 hours a week after doing this for 20 years? Do you think you accidentally get to the part where a $6 million business or $4 million business or a $3 million business is running without you in the trenches? These people have very clear visions, don't they? Do you think that person that's gotten to that level, do you think they say yes to everything? Huh? No, they do not, right? And the other thing that I have seen is that those companies and that individual has a heck of a team around them. We touched on this a little bit when I was illustrating the problem of the team. The quality of your team. So some questions related to that, some thoughts related to that. Who do you need to replace? And don't start that thought with, it's really hard to find people. Don't start that with, I don't have anybody in mind. Who do you need to replace? We're not going to do anything right now. Who do you need to replace? Why do you need to replace them? That's good. Yep. It's kind of a rhetorical question. So think about that, right? Who do you need to replace? And yourself is a good answer, right? It's like, if I can replace myself, I was talking to a gentleman who loves estimating. I said, "What have you learned?" He goes, "I've learned that I do not like estimating." And I have a running joke where I'm like, I tell all my clients, "You love estimating. Stop." And it's really a mental thing. No, I love estimating. And it's also a mental thing of, there's no good people out there. If you continue to preach that to yourself, guess what? You ain't going to find any good people. Guaranteed. There's a little bit of positivity that needs to happen. So if you need to replace somebody, get real clear with that. And when you have a bad employee that's really holding your team back, if you're not actively recruiting, if you're not talking to people, if you're not interviewing, they have all the leverage, don't they? You're sitting there in fear and worry and concern. If I let them go, then how do I get this work done? We've got to kind of push back past that a little bit. Again, the team is so critical. If I were to rank the four, I'm not going to rank the four. The team is very, very critical. I'm also a big fan of taking, I'm going to dance again, get ready. I know I was very good earlier. I'm a big fan of taking a half step forward. Okay. I thought it was going to be funnier than that. Right? But I think in our head sometimes we think, okay, I can't hire a designer. No, you can't take that full step forward. You don't have the money for that. It's a good thing to say out loud too. I do not have the money to do what I want to do. But can you take a half step forward? Can you really work to maybe find more of a part-time designer? I see this position hired a lot for my remodelers. Can you take a half step forward, like Heather Francis and Michael in Pennsylvania, and find somebody that's working part-time as a selections coordinator? Holy cow, they have a part-time person now. They pay hourly. The hours kind of come up and down depending on the project, but they are doing so much more selections and upfront work. And when we do more selections and upfront work, do the projects go smoother? Yes, they do. So when you think of the team, identify and be real about who needs to be replaced. You may not be able to do that right away, but start thinking about that. Start making a plan. Think about half steps forward. Maybe there's some part-time things. Maybe there's somebody that's more almost as a consultant for you that can serve a certain role. Once you have that team, you need to manage them well. What I have noticed is a lot of my clients that get the money side figured out, start getting the capacity figured out, start saying no to things, have a little bit of vision. What I've noticed is the next big mountain for them to climb is to be an exceptional, what do you think I'm going to say? Leader. Good. Right? An exceptional leader. And for a lot of people, it's almost like the leadership, it might not be starting over here, but it's kind of starting here on the spectrum, and there's so much room for growth. And the reading leadership books, thinking about leadership, asking your employees, what more can we do for you? What would make your job more enjoyable? Sitting down at least once a month, one-on-one, and saying, how are things going? Not, how's that project going? Not, hey, what's coming up next week? How are you doing? How's life? How's your job? How's your capacity? What do we need to kind of think about? Is there any training you need? Leadership. Bo Schembechler once had a quote where he goes, leadership, leadership, leadership. He didn't actually. I made that up. 42% of all quotes are made up, by the way. How's it? I don't know. Okay, so what can you take off your shoulders? What can you take off team members' shoulders? We need to think about the team side. How do we lead them well? How do we continue? And just keep in mind, it comes and goes. People come and go. But are we making progress towards strengthening our team? Do we have a better team now than we did a year ago? Recognize that. Why is that the case? And how do you continue to strengthen your team? It's all around that leadership. And you need to keep filling yourself up with leadership ideas, leadership techniques, and be consistent with making sure you're a leader. Repeat after me. I'm a leader. 1, 2, 3. I'm a leader. Okay. I know you're a modeler. I know you know your numbers. Cool. I know you're a parent. I know you're a spouse. I know you're a friend. That leader thing, to really own that, really, really matters. Cool. And if time permits, time don't permit, because we have 11 minutes and 13 seconds. So if we can bring up the little lights, and I think there's going to be some people with some microphones. But before we do that, or as they're doing that, and it's going to be a really awkward 11 minutes if nobody asks any questions. So get ready. If I were just to kind of push you, what is your next right thing? So if I were to talk to you a week from today, and I said, hey, you came to my keynote. I heard you kind of share some things halfway through. I had you write some things down. If you were to really just think about everything I've shared so far, and you look at that list, maybe jot down an action step or two that you're going to remember and that you're going to work towards implementing. And then we need our first person to stand up and get a microphone. You can ask. It's Ask Kyle Anything time. Callan has it, so bring that up. And then Anna told me I had very specific instructions, because this is what's being recorded, that I am to repeat the question back before answering it.
If my next action item is to understand my numbers and profits and margins and markups, what would your recommendation be for my next step?
What's your next thing? Who are you sitting next to right now? Randy White? How is he at that?
Fair.
Before he started working with me, he was a little loosey-goosey with it. Now he's got it a little stronger, right? So I'd start there of sitting. Literally, the answer to your question would be you guys sitting down and saying you're feeling a little bit convicted of, I need to know the numbers more. Yes, I'm doing a lot of the design work. Yes, I'm doing a lot of this. But the more I understand the numbers and the job costing and what we're charging, I'm going to do a better job in my business. So I'd start right there. You guys need to sit down next week and go, all right, let's review our P&L. You guys have been working hard on job costing. Let's review some job costing. And then when he is not as good a coach as me, then you call me. Right? And you guys have access to a lot of resources from previous coaching too, right? So just pick one thing, pick P&L, and then do another meeting the next week on job costing. And then 2 weeks later, do another one on employee labor burden. And just make it a consistent thing. It doesn't even have to be weekly. It could be every other week, but get it on a calendar and schedule it. And just have a desire to do it. Good. Yes, ma'am?
What's your favorite leadership book?
What's my favorite leadership book? Spencer Powell and I were, Spencer, you better get ready, sir. Spencer's going to answer the question, what's his favorite leadership book? We were creating just because I think it's funny that he's on the spot. Take a microphone back to the corner back there, that beautiful man in the back. This is more for my humor. We were creating some content while you guys were doing breakout groups, and I said, hey, Spencer, one of my favorite quotes is 5P, proper preparation prevents poor performance. What is one of your favorite quotes? Because he is a prolific reader. So Spencer Powell, what is your favorite leadership book? This lady would like to know.
Yep, thank you for that, Kyle.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I've already given you a hat, or else I'd give you a hat.
Yeah, well, maybe a second hat? You have two.
Say Spencer.
Two styles.
Say Spencer Powell with Builder Funnel, helping you with your search engine optimization and all your website needs.
There you go. Nice
Okay.
pitch. I don't know if it's actually in the leadership category, but who, not how. And as entrepreneurs, I think we have to solve every single problem ourselves, but we don't. There's a lot of times people that can solve all those problems for us if we find the who.
Love it. Give that man a keynote next year. And I would say your favorite leadership book is one you already have purchased because you read it online, you listened to that podcast, somebody recommended something, and there's a book on your shelf that you already own that you're like, I never read that. I have 46 of those that I was like, oh, that looks like a good book, and then it sat on the shelf a little bit. I think when I'm in my 50s, I'm going to be a big reader. All right? But that's my answer for you is go back, look at the books you already have, and pick one. And then I'll think of one too. What's the next question? Go ahead. Either microphone or just talk really loud.
So I'll start with the epiphany that I've had lately is that I need a vision in my home and in my family and then in the things that I want to do. But I'm wondering how many people here have a similar thought and how many people have you dealt with that they have a vision for their business, but because they don't have a vision in their home or their other purposes in life, they're running into those issues of capacity or other things. And then how it bleeds over into you come in to try to do work, you're actually getting away from the things you can't deal with at home, but it doesn't leave you enough to do those things at work well.
Yeah. So really it's about, well, I've got all these goals in the business, and look at how successful my business is, and look at how this is, and I'm really driven over here. Meanwhile, bit of a dumpster fire over here. Is that what you're kind of getting at, right?
I'm just curious how many people you sort of, as you navigate coaching them in their business, you also see their life as sort of still needing some work.
Some of my favorite, I kind of naturally gravitate towards this, but my coaching, especially when I'm working one-on-one with clients, I know their wife's names, I know what they love to do, I know a little bit about their history, I know their hobbies, I know their kids, we talk about kids, and the reason I do that is I coach better in that way, but the other reason is I start pointing people towards, we're not just doing business here, right? Oh, cute, you run a $6 million business, your wife hates you. Who's winning? You're not winning, right? Keeping the proper things. I love a business owner who says, I've got to take the pedal take the foot off the pedal on the business side and just stop going so guns a-blazing and spend so much time on it because I need to invest in my marriage. I need to invest in my health. I need to invest in my relationships with kids. Hey, did you know, speaking as somebody with 4 kids and one of them is a senior in high school, you know those people who say time goes really fast with your kids, don't blink? It's correct. My kid's going to college next year. He's graduating high school. That's weird, right? So yes, keeping things right. And a good life is balanced. A good life is not, newsflash, if you are not very happy and I handed you $500,000 a year, it's probably gonna help a little. But it's not really going to happen. Sometimes we're hacking at the leaves instead of striking at the root issue. What makes you happy? What is the vision for your life? What are you trying to do? And making sure it is balanced. So yes, and that's a passionate topic of mine. Good question.
Here.
Yes. Maybe shout it. Okay, go ahead.
As someone who's hired brothers, cousins, drunk friends.
Hang on, brothers, cousins, drunk friends, okay.
Yeah, gone through headhunters. What have you seen for successes with finding great talent?
Well, luckily, finding great talent is really easy. Let me tell you the secret. I'm sorry, I actually don't have. Right, it's not super easy. So finding good talent. What would be the best route to go with that? One is to really create a business that you would really love to come and work for? Great people, they told me not to cuss. I don't cuss, but this man said, people don't want to work for, he used the S word business owners. Huh? Callie, I am not going to cuss up here. I was told very clearly from Anna, no cussing. We may have got some feedback last year. There was a little too much cussing up here. Okay? But that's a good foundation. That's a good foundation. Because all of a sudden now, my mind is thinking about totally different things. All of a sudden, you know what? We are going to give all of our employees a day off on their birthday each year. You know what? We are going to work on making sure that it's actually fun. We aren't going to run into this thing of we don't have time to stop working at noon on Friday once a month to bring food and to hang out or to do something fun together or doing that once a quarter. We don't got time for that. Guarantee if that's your attitude, that's not the direction we want to go, right? If you want to attract good people, become a much stronger leader. Make it so that like you do one-on-one meetings, you care about them. Take way more focus off you and put it way more on them. Start stacking those things up and working on those things, and that will change things. The best hires that I'm seeing for people are this carpenter works for Oddfellows Contracting, and Oddfellows Contracting does every other Friday off for their team. They stagger it. Oddfellows Contracting does really fun things once a year. They have a bonus program. They are really committed to it, and you know how they hire? Not Indeed. Not here and there. These people talk to their buddies and say, I want to work there. So that's my answer to that. Yes, sir. Also look up Core Matters, a guy named Ryan Englin, Englin. He's got a ton of good stuff on kind of transitioning your mind on how to recruit.
Just a quick little statement to add to that. I think I saw Gary Vee, great
Talk
speaker.
about cussing.
Yeah, he cusses all the time. He said to fire fast.
Did you know that I have sat in Gary Vee's chair in his office in New York City?
That's pretty cool.
Just
Huge
saying.
Jets fan, yeah.
I know you thought I was cool, but now it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. All y'all want to do that.
Yeah.
See, Texas. Gary Vee said to fire fast and don't let your ego get in the way of I hired him, so if I fire him fast, it's going to reflect on me. Don't let that get in your way. Just a quick
The other thing he
comment.
said on that is he's always struggled with firing people because he's got a really big heart and he hung on to people. His solution to that was he is incredibly generous on the way out. He does it to the point where it's like, I'm giving you 6 weeks severance, and I can sleep well at night knowing that I have overly taken care of you. That's another thing he says on that. What's one more question? Because we have 30 seconds left. Yes, sir. Go ahead and shout it.
When it comes to taking half steps,
Yeah.
then what do you recommend for smaller companies under 5 million?
Yeah. Who comes to mind? What position comes to mind for the half step? Do you want me to dance again? You're asking this because you want me to dance again? Yeah. Okay. Accountant, designer. Okay. So number one, let's create a really clear. Yes. Thank you. If I was to take a half step forward on hiring somebody, he mentioned accountants or bookkeeper. He mentioned designer, right? It's also cute that you're saying for smaller companies, 5 million and less. You guys lack total perspective on this. This is a talking point. That says 0, but I think it says 2 minutes. That's cute, right? Everybody in the room, you think that everybody else around you is doing 10 times better than you. Reality check, some of them are, but you guys are doing fine. / you're running your own race. But 5 million is an incredible business. In the remodeling sphere, you're already in the top 10% of all remodelers who do it. A small business, in my eyes, is doing 750, doing $1 million, doing $1 million too. So I just share that as perspective. Comparison is good. It's also the thief of joy. Ooh, that's a good one. Preach, Kyle. So the half step, get really clear with what that looks like and what you're wanting. That's always step one. Build that out, make that really clear. And then step two, I usually don't go with like posting it somewhere. Who in your network already do you know? Go ahead and post it on your Facebook. You share it, and say, hey, we're looking for somebody. It's a part-time position. Here's the skills we're looking for. Talk to your network. So often when somebody has like, hey, I want to hire a designer part-time, take that half step forward, I say, hey, who comes to mind? And they go, well, we did some work with so-and-so who kind of does things part-time. Hello, Reach out to that person. So start just with your own network, and most likely that's going to pop something. And then if not, then you might start posting stuff, maybe contractor staffing stores, maybe Indeed, things like that. Cool. Folks, this was a very a joy. My biggest goal here is that you had takeaways. Is my mission accomplished? Yes. Good. Thank you. That little QR code, download that little vision exercise. We have a booth at the other end of the hall there. I am leaving around 12 o'clock today, and then Bailey will be taking over. I have a basketball game to get to of my son. Even though he is not playing, he punched a wall and broke his wrist on Tuesday. We have some life lessons going on at the Hunt House. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one more thing. My clients. We were going to get a picture. So if you are an active client of mine or a past client of mine, or if you're part of Remodelers Community, if you're not part of it, you should be. Remodelerscommunity.com. Can you all come up and can we just get a picture? Thank you.